Happy mid-morning, guys. Yep, we're still here. I'm still fighting. I do not have a result from the idiocity that happened overnight. So I'll let you know as soon as as soon as we have an answer from them. They should fix it, I think. Okay, because I didn't do anything that violated a policy. But beside the point. In this one, there's a word that comes up that you guys hear all the time, and I want to make sure everybody understands it, and I want to give you a solution around it. It's austerity. Now, many of us hear it, and it's like, okay, it just kind of whoosh right over everybody's head. Let me go into this a little bit. Now, most of us are very well aware that the petrodollar is dying. Saudi Arabia is coming out and saying they're going to accept currencies other than the dollar to buy oil, whole 9 yards. That destroys the US dollar. Okay. I think you guys understand that part enough. I've talked about it enough. Other people have too, that the rest of the country has to hold, or the rest of the world has to hold a reserve in dollars so they can buy oil. But now if the rest of the world goes, oh, we can pay in rubles or yuan or yen or whatever they want to pay in, pesos, they don't have to hold dollars anymore, and that decreases the value of a dollar. All right. So what does that do? Well, that weakens the US dollar. Just so you guys know, that should strengthen gold and silver. Just putting that out there for you. But the government still has to pay all the obligations it has, whether they are the mandated ones like Social Security and Medicare, which, just so you guys know, can't be cut, as much as the Democrats try to say all the time, oh, the Republicans are trying to cut Social Security. They can't, okay? Sorry, that's mandated. They can cut the wasteful spending, but they can't cut the mandated spending. So that's one option, cutting spending. The second option is raising taxes, okay? Well, we know how that one goes. Congress is pretty adverse to raising taxes. So the third option is what they've been pulling lately, is print more money, which causes inflation, okay? Well, eventually you do enough of that and you wind up printing yourself into oblivion. And I think it was Lebanon who just announced yesterday they are devaluing their currency by 90%. Why? They printed too much money. It's now worthless. Okay. Again, we talk about all the time. Look at Venezuela. Look at Zimbabwe. I mean, there's zeros that are, this long on a one whatever bill. It's now a billion Bolivar bill or whatever it is, but it's got the buying power of what used to be one Bolivar. So this is what you get into. So those are the three options. We either have cut spending, which the Democrats won't do, raise taxes, which the Republicans won't do, or print more money, which everybody wants to do. Well, eventually when you can't print more money, that only leaves you with two things: cut spending and raise taxes. And eventually what happens is you've got to do both, okay? So they will cut spending and raise taxes. And we have hyperinflation. So what does this mean for us? What is our way to protect ourselves? And the best way to do it is to reduce your tax liability. Gee, what a concept, okay? How do you starve the government? You don't pay taxes, okay? Now, I'm not saying April 15th rolls around and you decide not to write the check. You go into HR and say, stop withholding and I'm not paying any taxes. I'm not saying doing that. That's not legal. What I'm saying is get yourself in a situation where you don't have anything for them to tax, or very little, okay? If you can get enough savings put away that you don't have to go to work, if you don't have any income, you don't pay any income tax, okay? This is the thing. This is what the government doesn't understand with this whole nobody wants to go to work. There's a lot of people, I bet, that are not going to work because they have enough to get by. Yes, I understand completely that there's a boatload of people out there that are just happy spending Biden bucks. okay? But we haven't seen a stimulus check in forever. Unemployment eventually does run out and everything. So people are figuring out real quick how to make money under the table, okay? That starves the government of money. I'm not saying do anything illegal. What I'm saying is if you've got enough wealth put back that you can live, okay? And I say wealth because greenbacks are not wealth, all right? Owning tangible assets is wealth. Owning your land, owning your house, owning your car, whatever it would be. If you don't have to have a paycheck to go out and make the money to pay the mortgage, the car note, the whatever, there's nothing that's taxable. They could raise taxes to 99%. If you have no income, your taxes didn't go up. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. If you have your living conditions taken care of, and you can take care of your own food, power, whatever would be, more and more getting off the grid, doing that sort of stuff. Not completely off the grid. If we're completely off the grid, I'm not on the internet, okay? I've talked about that before. There's still going to be some things that you're going to have to pay for until they get too expensive. When they start making internet access $1,000 a month, guess what? Nobody has internet access anymore because nobody's paying for it. All right? That'll just happen. Fine, no big deal. You get back into local communities. But the easiest way to get out from under this tyrannical rule that we have is to not feed the beast. And we have the ability to not feed the beast. The problem is for, the better part of 50 years now, Americans, and other countries too, but Americans primarily, have gotten so used to the fact of, I'll just put it on credit. I'll just borrow the money. I've got, a car I can't afford, a house I can't afford, going out to dinner that I can't afford, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, you know what? I make $30,000 a year and I owe $700,000. Good freaking luck ever paying it off. It ain't going to happen, all right? So flip the script, okay? If you now live within your means and have the $150,000 house rather than the $700,000 house, you drive the 12-year-old car instead of the brand new Mercedes that still works fine, okay? And all of a sudden you don't have any of these bills. You don't need to have all that income. It's like I used to tell people all the time when I was in the financial services industry. People go, it's too expensive to live here. I'm like, then move, okay? I can't move there. I can't make I can't make as much money. Sure, okay. Give you this. Whatever you're making in New York City, for example, and paying $1 million to buy an apartment. You think I'm kidding? That's a cheap one, okay? You move to Oklahoma, Missouri, Tennessee, Florida, whatever it is, and all of a sudden it costs you $200,000 to buy something comparable. We're talking apartment here, guys, okay? Not house, apartment. Gee, you don't need to make the same amount of money. If your apartment costs you 1/5 of it, guess what? You need to make 1/5 of the money to maintain your standard of living, okay? At least for the bills. Your quality of life will probably go up where your needs for money have now gone down. This is the thing. If people, and I think this is already happening, when people realize, I don't need to make as much money if I'm somewhere else, or I don't need to make as much money, I don't need to make this much money, I can live perfectly fine without this much money. The only one that suffers is the yahoos in Congress who are going, gee, let's just spend money, right? Okay. If it ain't there, they only have, like I said, two choices, okay? Raise taxes. If you're not making the money, you're not paying the taxes. So they could raise the taxes on everybody to 100%, but if nobody has any income, 100% to zero is still zero, guys, okay? So then at that point, they have no choice but to cut spending. And If inflation goes through the roof, you don't care because you've now figured out how to get everything, your food, your power, your water, without the aid of the people that are trying to screw you. This is how you fight against totalitarianism, okay? You take the power away from them. The power they have is because we give it to them by playing by their rules. Oh, we want to have, credit cards. Don't use them. The bank doesn't make any money, okay? We want to have a big fancy house. Why? You don't need the big fancy house. A smaller house will do fine. Look at all the generations behind us. Look at the house you probably grew up in, okay? It wasn't some McMansion that all these kids want these days, okay? And you did perfectly fine. Granted, you didn't have a 20 by 40 living room that, to talk to your spouse in the next room, you had to call on the phone, okay? You don't need that. And all of a sudden, people go, I don't need any of this. I don't need the grocery store. I don't need, I need a little bit of income? Great, because I need to go get a new hammer so I can continue to build what I need. Or, sure, I've got an electric bill. But right now your electric bill, as everybody's bitching about it, a couple of $100, $300, $400. Imagine when that goes to be $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. Then what do? You go, I got to find out something different. The solution is getting out of it now. If you can get money put back that can't be taxed, at least under the current tax laws, you've beat them at their own game. We can starve these idiots out. We just have to have the guts, the ambition, the will, and the drive to do it. And that's called being self-sufficient. The more people that learn that, and the less people that are government sufficient, that's how we take the country back. Pinball out.